Welcome to Something More to Podcast, where we move through topics wherever the conversation takes us. I'm your host, Richard Collins.
And I'm Adam Culbertson.
You know, I actually do live trivia like on a weekly basis because I don't know. I like knowing things. I like feeling like I know things, and I actually learn things there sometimes. It's interesting things too. But recently there was a question that was asking about Nickelodeon, and in particular the first three animated shows that Nickelodeon produced. Which would have been in 1991.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
It was a while ago, and I don't know. The first one was like just given in the question, which was Rugrats, and the remainder of the question basically was asking the other two.
Yeah,
which was actually Doug and Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah,
but that just kind of had me thinking recently, just back on some of the good old shows, like, you know, childhood, growing up, like the cartoons that we had like back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, very, very different.
Oh yeah, very different. I don't know. It's weird because there's some things that I guess are kind of static.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You still have like a lot of like adult humor that kind of finds its way into kids shows.
Oh, totally. I mean, even on Disney shows like Gravity Falls. I mean, it's not that old of a show.
And although Gravity Falls is like the most atypical Disney show ever.
Yeah.
Great show. Absolutely recommend it to anyone who is interested in cartoons at all.
But they totally have like those just little the inside jokes for adults, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, in a certain way, like you kind of have to, because I mean, parents often get stuck watching whatever their kids are going to watch.
Yeah.
And so rather than, you know, just cater to the kids and make it so the parents want to tear their hair out and just go, okay, no, you're not watching this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Those kind of shows are like Blue's Clues and what, Bear in the Big Blue House back in the day.
Barney.
Yeah. Those are the ones that I, as a kid, I hated those because my cousins were younger than me and they watched them. I always got watched by my aunt over the summers, and we always had to watch Barney all the fucking time.
Oh yeah. And so I don't know. It's just better to kind of cater a little bit to the adults in ways that the kids won't understand. Yeah. So the adults can at least enjoy a show too. And maybe not necessarily actively enjoy it, but at least they don't have to like, you know, bang their head against the wall because they're watching this drivel for like the millionth time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I come from a big family and I'm the oldest. Mm-hmm. So I dealt with watching a lot of cartoons in my later teen years.
See, I watched a lot of cartoons in my later teen years of my own volition.
Yeah. But I ended up watching Fairly Odd Parents a lot.
Which is actually a pretty good
Jimmy
one.
Neutron. Yeah, like those are really good shows. And I watch them like young adult babysitting and everything all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy when you think back on it. Like, especially because if you go like way, way back, like, you know, when we were really, really, really young, like cartoons were almost entirely just to sell toys.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty much their express purpose.
Yeah.
And it worked.
I had Ren and Stimpy toys. I had a Stimpy that had a whoopee cushion inside of him, and you squeezed him and he farted. And then there was things that were like scratch and sniff, so it was like scratch and sniff farts and and stuff like that on Ren and Stimpy toys for kids. Scratch and sniff farts.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like, why was that like a technology?
Hey, even to this day, like when you're catering to kids, farts and butts are funny.
Yes, it is. It is.
But yeah, like I mean, when I was really young, like the first cartoon that I really, really got into was actually the 80s TMNT.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was my first thing too. Actually, the first time that they did toys, they released them through Burger King's whenever fast food places actually gave full size like real toys,
Right.
and like I remember my dad like made sure that I got all 4 of them.
But yeah, I had a whole collection of Ninja Turtles toys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had. Oh god, I had the fucking tunnel digger, like all kinds of shit.
You had to have like the battle bus.
Oh yeah, definitely the bus.
The pizza shooter.
Yeah, pizza. Man, they're still making they're still making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They look different, but
they look different, and now they kind of have modified them, which I don't really hate the change. Like I think it's actually kind of interesting, but they've modified it so they're not all the same type of turtle anymore.
Oh, I didn't know there were different types of turtles now.
Yeah, they're each a different type of turtle now.
Oh wow.
And Raphael is a snapping turtle.
Oh yeah, of course.
And so he is huge compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. Man, I loved the snapping turtle on the second movie. The Ooze.
Oh, you mean I forget which was which. Tokar and Razor.
Secret of the Ooze, or what was it?
TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget which was which. Tokar and Razor.
Was that their name?
It's like the dog and the snapping turtle.
Yeah, yeah. Dog and snapping turtle. I don't remember which ones, but they released those toys that were like realistic looking TMNT, and you could like take their arms off and and stuff and like swap them.
Oh yeah, they came up with some crazy stuff too. Like you had like the ones that could transform.
Yeah, yeah. Fucking
it's like
Transformer Ninja Turtles.
Crossover Transformers and Ninja Turtles, because why not?
They sold.
They sold. But man, like I don't know. So that was kind of what cartoons were like in the 80s and like early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely got to a point like in the 90s where cartoons weren't really about selling toys anymore.
Yeah.
And while you might be able to find toys here and there, like it wasn't like crazy overblown like all the other cartoons used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, like, man, and Cartoon Network was never bad about it at all. Like there were a few things for Cartoon Network, but it's not like it was like a toy line per se.
Yeah. Cartoon Network made a lot of changes because I mean, growing up, Cartoon Network was old school cartoons like Tom and Jerry, and where they were doing like Bugs Bunny and stuff until they lost the rights to.
Oh yeah, all
to
that kind of
that
stuff, or like the more obscure stuff, like especially if you were like watching like really late at night or like during like school, like if you stayed home sick or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'd have the weird obscure stuff on, like Snorks.
Oh yeah, Snorks, Smurfs. A lot of that stuff ended up going to Boomerang, and now Boomerang is putting out new content.
That's weird.
Like I've even considered, like, I mean, I haven't smoked weed in quite a while, but Boomerang is my favorite thing to watch when I'm high.
And I'll tell you, even better when you have like something like Boomerang going on, and then you just like cut off the sound and just have music playing over it.
Yeah.
just like watch everything just kind of sync up in weird ways.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's great. Oh man. I mean, even some of the like 90s cartoons though, like Animaniacs.
Well, that was Warner Brother.
That was Warner Brother. You're right. But man, that was a crazy show.
Yeah, it was.
I swear that show was more for adults than it was for kids.
Yeah. Animaniacs. Yeah, because all their jokes were fucking geared towards old people.
Right. And not even like they were adult content jokes. There were adult content jokes, but it was just so many of the jokes were like references to celebrities that as a kid you'd have never heard of.
No, yeah. I didn't get half of the jokes. Like they made the people look like celebrities and stuff, so you were like, that face looks familiar, so I'm gonna laugh because it's funny because I'm a kid and I laugh at shit.
Right. And they're drawn like caricatures. Caricatures are funny.
Yeah. So, but as an adult, like I've gone back and watched Animaniacs when it got added to Netflix. I think it's even added to Hulu now. But like I get the jokes better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But no, they would not bat an eyelash at just like dropping a name of some actress that was like big in like the 50s.
The 50s, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I imagine like all the actors and actresses that they reference jokes to were probably working for Warner Brothers back in the day, so that's probably why why all that happened like that.
It's very possible, but yeah,
because the Animaniacs lived through all these generations.
But yeah, like watching that show as a kid and watching that show as an adult are two completely different experiences.
Oh yeah, Freakazoid.
Oh man, Freakazoid was just maybe and this is kind of sad, but maybe the funniest thing in all of Freakazoid is whenever they start talking like technical in the show.
Yeah,
because I mean they actually made an attempt to like make real references to like how good this modem that he was getting was and everything else like that. But it's like it's so laughably funny these days.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's 56K dedicated processing. Like,
it didn't age well.
No, it did not.
It's just techno babble.
But at least at the time, it was actually pretty valid.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, because now it's just like, what can you even do with that? Like,
yeah. Speaking of stuff like that, not a cartoon, but a movie in the 80s, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
When he connects to the internet and connects to the school to change the grades from his house in the mid 80s,
Right.
which took me down a fucking tunnel of just trying to figure out like the history of the internet and network connections in America and all this kind of stuff. And like, it technically was possible if he had a connection to the school, like a direct connection to the school,
right.
But he obviously was too far away to really have that.
Unless he just went like burying cable on his days off.
yeah, exactly. So it was possible, but it really wasn't, because I mean he didn't live right next to the school,
right?
But yeah, I learned about the history of internet and networking because of Ferris Bueller.
Learned about how
I was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I gotta look this shit up.
But you learned about how Al Gore invented the internet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh man, like, I mean, it's while not entirely false, it's also not really true either.
Yeah.
The 90s, 80s and 90s were a really weird time.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I was really into as a kid, which I still am, horror movies.
Well, I mean, horror kind of had its heyday like in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Like there's so many like great like horror series that came out then, really.
Yeah, well,
or that started shortly before and kind of perpetuated in like the 80s.
Yeah. Friday the 13th was big, and then it got out of control. Nightmare on Elm Street was big, and then it got out of control.
It really did. But I mean, you also had like the Scream movies.
Oh God, yeah, that's all 90s. Just
oh yeah, that just it barfs 90s.
Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh yeah.
Which I think that was later 90s. I know it, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds about right.
Yeah.
But man, see, I don't know. It's kind of funny to me because like most of the really great horror like franchises inevitably get to a point where they're just funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I think that's why the Wayans brothers, they made Scary Movie,
yeah.
and they parodied. Well, I mean, they've been doing parody movies for a while.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Menace to Society.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you saw that, but that I love that movie. Now, actual scary movies, not part of a series that like really like stuck with me over the years, like fucking made me scared, like of the dark and shit like that.
Yeah.
The Changeling.
I don't
The
think I've
original,
ever seen that
The
one.
Changeling. It had the guy that played Patton in Patton, George C. Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 1980 film, The Changeling. Like it didn't have like your like gore and all that kind of stuff. Like this guy, his at the beginning of the movie, his wife and daughter get hit by a semi truck on an icy road while he's trying to, because they wrecked on the side of the road and he's using a payphone when they existed.
Right.
And his wife and kid get hit by a truck that lost control. And then it skips some years and he buys this house and he's trying to compose this. He's trying to write this play, this musical, this composition or whatever. And weird shit's happening in the house. He got it like dirt cheap, but it's like this mansion. Yeah, it was haunted by this little crippled boy. And fucking that movie, like, just like, it didn't have this, like, it had a couple jump scares and stuff like that, but it just, it has stuck with me to this day. Like, big houses scare me because of that movie, and it's not even that scary of a movie, I guess. It's just, I don't know.
You know, I'll tell you one movie that wasn't really scary at all, but I know myself, like, found it kind of scary. And I feel like a lot of other kids around my age did too.
Yeah.
Freaking Never Ending Story.
Yeah.
Like there was some parts
creepy
of that
shit
that was really creepy.
Yeah. The other one that really got me, and this got me into cosmic horror, was Event Horizon. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No, I haven't.
Oh man. That is it's a must watch. The funny story about that is, like, it was a new movie, like it just got released on VHS at the time, and I was staying the summer with my grandma, who's like super religious and like super PG and everything like that. And I was like, oh, this horror movie, it just came out, like I want to see it. And she rented it for me. We started watching it. It was not an appropriate movie for like however old I was. But I mean, it's not so much that it scared me, but like it really got me into that kind of horror and not just your hack and slash kind of horror.
Of course, then you have like the body horror movies that also kind of were big around that time, like The Fly.
Oh yeah,
or The Thing.
Yeah, The Fly thing. Well, that was 80s.
Yeah,
yeah,
like 80s. But like that was a pretty big thing. Was like the body horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cronenberg.
Yeah, Cronenberg. It's like don't worry, like Rick and Morty didn't just make that up. That was an actual thing.
Yeah, it was actually a reference to The Fly.
And other things.
Yeah.
Like Cronenberg was all about body horror.
Yeah. What 70s was a lot of sci-fi, like aliens and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Like the unknown, like beings from other planets that are going to come here. Not so much.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, really. Like, I mean, if you look at like culture and society around the time,
yeah,
like, you know, we really had just gotten into the idea of like space as an actual place that you could explore or go, and starts raising all these other questions like, well, what is already out there?
Yeah.
And it just opens the door for a whole world of things. I mean, that's why you started seeing all these like sci-fi films and everything like blowing up around that time.
Yeah. Star Trek definitely helped.
Oh yeah. Star Trek definitely helped. Although I feel like Star Trek in and of itself was kind of like at that forefront of like, hey, we're trying to aim for the moon, and like kind of coming out like in that ideal, that mindset of like, you know, this is someplace we're trying to go. And I mean, after all, like if you really get down to it, Star Trek, like especially the original Star Trek, was basically just a submarine show.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. Yeah,
it was a submarine drama that was just set in space.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I never thought of it that way, but yeah.
And then they would also have like a few times where they'd actually leave the ship and like be out wherever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like anytime they're in the ship, like they're doing their space battles and all that kind of stuff. Like it runs exactly the same way as like an old like submarine drama movie would go.
Yeah, yeah, it really did. Yeah. The Next Generation stepped it up.
Oh, Next Generation stepped it up majorly.
Oh, that we grew up with, or at least I did.
Like one of my favorite things hearing about Next Generation, like kind of after the fact, was apparently like on set they had a numbering system for like the force of impact of like any kind of like missile or something hitting the ship.
Okay, so that they had specific things they did for each number.
Well, because the whole set, like it was stationary. It's not like the set itself rocked. And you didn't want it to look all cheesy, like, oh, well, we're just tilting the camera. Like,
yeah.
Everything's shaking. So, like, each of the actors had to, like, react to whatever was hitting the ship. And they needed to stay in line. So it's not like, you know, some people are just, like, kind of shrugging and some people are, like, flying across the room. Like, I mean, you got to make it look at least, you know, somewhat the same.
Yeah.
So they had, like, a numbering system, you know. Like, all right, this one's a 5.
Oh, wow. Now, the 5 is probably when they had the people flying over the panels and shit.
Oh, no. That was like straight up like 9 or 10.
Oh, 9 or 10, yeah. Oh, it went up to 10?
Yeah. It was a 1 to 10.
Oh,
like
1 to 10.
Scale
Okay.
of 1 to 10.
Okay.
So it's like your 10s was like when people would go like flying over like boards, like the console start exploding.
People were doing full on dives over consoles in the Next Generation.
Like insert Wilhelm scream.
Like they were hiring fucking gymnasts and shit.
But yeah, like that always like amused me because it's like something I never really thought about watching the show.
Yeah.
But like hearing about it later, it's like that's really amusing.
Oh,
and now you can go back and watch the show and just think like, oh yeah, they're all just sitting there like, okay, I got to make it 3.
Okay, so now I want to go back and watch it. Rewatch it, and I want to like be like, oh, that's a 3, that's a 7 right there. It's got to be a 7, maybe 6. I don't know.
But yeah, like, oh man, that show was so good.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, most of them were good. I think. Well, I didn't watch a whole lot of Enterprise. And I have not watched the new one or Picard.
Yeah, I haven't touched Picard yet.
It's on the streaming service that I don't know if it plays on cable, but I don't have cable, so
ain't got that neither.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked out Picard, but I really do want to.
Yeah, I've only seen good things about Picard, but I fucking love.
Part of it is just, you know, it's Patrick Stewart. How can you say no to Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, he's just an awesome guy.
He really is. Absolutely. Although maybe my favorite thing about Patrick Stewart is there was actually a podcast like years ago, like back before like podcasts were literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there was one that I used to listen to like back when I had a really long commute to work, which was How to Do Everything, which is kind of an offshoot of Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Yeah.
On NPR.
Yeah.
But How to Do Everything, they would just answer questions in the most ridiculous ways, or sometimes just answer ridiculous questions, or bring important people on to do ridiculous things.
Yeah.
And in particular,
I've heard this.
They interviewed Patrick Stewart, and like they brought him on there specifically to answer one question: do cows have accents? And so Patrick Stewart like was on there and doing his best impersonations of cows from various parts of England.
Yeah, and he was it was funny as shit.
Oh, it was so good.
I'm sure you could find it out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, as a matter of fact, if you look up How to Moo Everything.
How to Moo Everything?
Yeah, I think that's what they called it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Patrick Stewart, How to Moo Everything.
Yeah. Just great stuff.
I'll try and put the link in the
We'll see if we can find it and put a link
in the
it.
podcast description.
Yeah. We should be able to find a link, I think.
Oh yeah.
I found it not too terribly long ago. Oh, but kind of to circle back around a little bit.
Yeah.
And like kind of stay in the live action kind of things, but bring it back to like Nickelodeon, like circa 90s.
Oh man. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Absolutely.
Oh, Pete and Pete.
Pete and Pete was so good. Oh man.
Not a kid. I mean, yeah, it was a kid's show, but like,
it was really more of like a teen.
Yeah, it was
a teen show.
Teen show, yeah.
But yeah, like pretty much everything on Snick was just great.
Yeah.
Although if you remember the more cheesy like ones that weren't like Snick, they were like afternoon shows or whatever, stuff like Hey Dude.
Oh God, I absolutely hated Hey Dude. I lived next to this fucking kid that thought he was a cowboy. We lived in a fucking trailer park. He thought he was a cowboy. And like I'd go over to his house and he's fucking got on some fucking chaps, wearing a fucking cowboy's hat. We're in fucking second grade. And he's like, "Hey Dude's coming on." And they're like, "Hey Dude." I'm like, "Oh my God, kill me."
You were more Salute Your Shorts.
Salute Your Shorts. Clarissa Explains It All.
Yeah. Clarissa was amazing.
I absolutely hated Hey Dude.
Oh man. And then I mean, because they had like a bunch of like the competitive shows too.
Oh, Guts.
Yeah, Guts or like
Double
Legend of the
Dare.
Hidden Temple, like Double Dare.
Yep.
Or what was the other?
What was
one?
the
Wild
Crag?
and Crazy Kids.
Wild and Crazy Kids.
Yeah, the Crag was on Guts.
Guts was the Crag.
Yeah, because that
Okay.
was like the final thing in Guts.
Okay.
Was the Crag.
Speaking of Crag, I am gonna if I can plug that fucking podcast I listened to.
Yeah, that one.
The Shocking Gasp. They're doing their season 2. They traveled into the Retroverse, and they're after these idols or something like that, and they're called the Crag or something like that. So there's so many 90s references and everything. It's really cool. But yeah, back to,
Is it a monkey idol in 3 pieces that
They haven't
somehow kids can't figure out how to put together?
they haven't gotten to it yet. I don't know. I just know it's called the Crag, and they're fighting against the Team Rocket right now.
No, but seriously, like how hard did you yell at your TV when kids were trying to put together that monkey idol?
Oh yeah. It's terrible.
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a head. It's obviously a head. It goes on the top.
Which if you I don't know if you watch Pluto TV at all, free app.
I've watched a little bit, but not much.
If you watch the Nickelodeon, they do show a lot of old school Nickelodeon stuff, and they will show they do
They do.
marathons of stuff like Legends of the Hidden Temple and stuff like that.
This wasn't even Nickelodeon, I don't think, but Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Oh yeah,
Like the game show for it.
grew up with that shit. They played that shit at school. Like they put it on the TV as part of like
I mean,
the
it was
morning
educational.
thing. Yeah, it was educational. Yeah,
And I love that. I love that show.
yeah,
It's probably why I'm as nerdy as I am.
yeah. Man, I had the Carmen Sandiego computer game.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I could not beat it. Like it was as hard as fucking Oregon Trail.
But in a
Like-
very different way.
Yeah, a very different way. It was just so
See, Carmen
fucking
Sandiego
difficult.
was hard because you had to learn stuff.
Yeah.
And you had to know a bunch of stuff
You
to
had
get
to
through
know,
it.
and there was no internet.
Right. You just had to learn.
Yeah,
But no, like Oregon Trail, there was no learning.
yeah,
There was only death by dysentery.
yeah.
Like, man, Oregon Trail, you could do everything right. You could do everything completely perfect, and you would still just have people die left and right for no reason.
Yep, broke your leg, dead.
Yep.
You stepped. You got a splinter in your foot, dead.
Oh, what I really love is you would have like your character be like a doctor.
Yeah,
Because like doctor, banker, those were like the two.
yeah.
Like you're either a doctor or a banker. Everything else sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But like you'd go as a doctor because like, oh, I'll just save everybody. Like it'll be fine. People won't die.
Yeah.
And the very first one to die is going to be the doctor.
The doctor.
Every time. Like, nope, doctor died.
Yeah.
Now what you got?
Mm-hmm. Did you say all that?
No, I didn't. But that was an amazing show.
Yes. And I still watch Keenan to this day on Saturday Night Live.
I mean, Kenan Thompson found his niche and he's stuck with it.
Yes.
Like he is amazing at sketch comedy.
I hope he never stops. Like, or at least like is a writer and still does some skits.
Oh, absolutely.
If he decides to not do as many skits as he's doing now.
He is just so good with sketch comedy.
Now, Kel, I mean, he was good.
He was good. He complimented Keenan very well.
Yeah. But
he was maybe a little bit wild.
Yeah, he's very wild. But I saw him in a movie.
Oh, yeah, that movie.
It was a terrible movie. I would say he's not a good actor. Although he did Good Burger, and I loved Good Burger. I mean, he played the role that he did on all that.
Exactly. Good. Like the whole thing, like with that, like that role especially, it was just a really straightforward, like really, single faceted, like role.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to make nuances or anything crazy in a movie like that. Mm-hmm. It's just like, well, here's the character. Here's how you act. Just go.
Yeah.
Just do everything like that.
Yeah, he was perfect at that. But playing a more serious role, I just couldn't get into the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole time you're just thinking, who loves orange soda?
Kel loves orange soda. Oh, man. Yeah, Keenan and Kel. Man. Salute your shorts, though. Those are some...
donkey lips.
Donkey lips. This is a fucked up shit.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't do that today. You couldn't call a kid donkey lips.
No.
What's wrong with you calling a kid donkey lips?
No. But shit, early on, like Keenan acting, Heavyweights.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that movie. Like,
and actually, to kind of bring that back a little bit, Danny Tamborelli was in that too, I think. Wasn't he? Pete from Pete and Pete. Not Pete, but Pete.
No. The younger Pete?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he was in it.
I know he was in like Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, he was totally in Mighty Ducks, but I don't think he was in Heavyweights. Now, there was kids from the Mighty Ducks in Heavyweights.
Yeah.
And then Ben Stiller.
And then Ben Stiller. Yeah.
He played a good villain.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he does play good villains, just in general.
I think he played the same person in Heavyweights as he played in Dodgeball. Like, that was the same person.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Like, even the hair was very similar.
Didn't both of them kind of end up the same way, too?
Yeah.
Like, where they just, like, ate themselves fat, like, at the end of it?
Well, I think in Heavyweights, he just went crazy. Like, he was already kind of crazy, but he went full crazy. He went full crazy. But I don't think he ate himself fat or anything.
It wasn't until later after he became the head of a gym.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He changed his name and started up that gym. I can't remember the name.
Was it, man, I can't even think of it. Cobra something or another. Or maybe that was just their team.
Yeah, I don't remember. Globo Gym or...
Yeah, that's it.
Something like that. And then there's Average Joe's.
Average Joe's.
With Steve the pirate.
You're not really a pirate, Steve.
Oh shit.
But yeah, we could reminisce forever, and probably will continue doing so for a while, and we'll probably come back to this
yeah,
just because.
Figured we'd do another lighthearted episode. Just we'll
something
throw it
to
in there.
Kind of break up all the shit. Break up all the like crappy crap that's going on in the world.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, thanks for listening. I know that this episode especially was really rambly. So if you dig that, cool.
Yeah.
But again, thanks for listening, and hope you join us next time when we have something more to podcast.